Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. David Gross with Condé Systems here, and my good friend and colleague Jimmy Lamb from Sawgrass. Jimmy, how are you today?
Well, yeah, I'm doing as well as I can today, David. So things are pretty good.
Well, we're recording this, I guess, March 25th, 2020, and at this point in time, we're dealing with a little pandemic for our little bluish ball in the solar system. And hopefully, by the time people listen to this years ago, all that will be behind us. But right now, that's what's happening. And so we're happy that you're sharing a little time with us. We have actually a very exciting subject to talk about, the kind of subject that, in a good way, only happens, say, every 4 or 5 years. And that is Sawgrass is bringing out the next generation printers. And so everybody is in listen only mode, and you'll be able to ask questions. Jimmy will see the questions, and he can try to answer the question if it's appropriate right then, or we'll wait to the end of the broadcast and we'll try to handle them. There, of course, may be a few questions that we'll handle offline. Like technology people, Jimmy, things don't ever seem to get simpler. They seem to get more complicated, almost like was it a Swiss Army knife, where we got so many blades, it does more
Right.
things. And I would say that in the grand scheme of things, Sawgrass may have outdone themselves. And before we get into it, I'll just tell you my take on this is, by my estimates, these exciting new printers, I'm going to say, are the 5th generation printers, where Rico had something to do with. And
True.
you can do all sorts of interesting math, but the bottom line is they're very exciting to us. And with that, Jimmy, I'll let you do your thing, and I'll as usual, play sort of Ed McMahon.
All right, Ed. Let's get rolling here. So
I
really
guess
just
the
kind of
millennials don't even remember about Ed McMahon, do they?
well, but I do. So and he was the publisher's clearinghouse guy. So he's the one you wanted to have show up on your doorstep as well. With your sweepstakes winnings. But he played multiple roles. Okay, just kind of starting out, I just want to look real briefly. You had already mentioned the fact that we were into this 5th generation with Ricoh printers, et cetera. And Ricoh has been a very good partner for us in developing printers. And just kind of going backwards just for a minute, 2014 through 2016 is when we really brought out the SG400 and SG800, and they were built on the Ricoh platform, where previously we were doing the Ricoh 3110, 7100, etc. So we found a very good platform there. When we went to the SG series, we did like we do with every new generation. We updated the technology. We made improvements. We looked at the history and data we had collected previously with the Ricoh units, and strive to make a better unit, and in fact build it pretty much from the ground up for sublimation, something no one else had done with a desktop printer. So the reality is we brought those out, and like we always do with a new generation, we brought out a new ink, SubLegit HD, which we made specifically for those printers. We also introduced Creative Studio to help people like myself who are a little graphically challenged to be able to put things together that made sense for sublimation. Our Virtuoso Print Manager was also brought out. And really at the same time, roughly in that same time period, we also brought out our larger printer, our VJ628, which is a 25-inch printer. But that was where we were in 2014, 2016. In 2017 through 2019, we made additional improvements. We're always looking at making improvements to things like our software. our Virtuoso Print Manager, for example. We continuously added more things such as hot folders. And anybody that really knows Virtuoso Print Manager and has gotten down deep in it, especially with some of my webinars that I've done on that, understand that there's a lot of really neat things in there. It's not just, click and print. We also put together premium content from Creative Studio, and this is the results again of customers saying, hey, we want more. Okay, we want more things. We want a bigger selection of designs. We want more features, those types of things. And then we started also, another milestone really was working with Caesar. So putting together the Easy Subly. So we've done a lot of things. I mean, that's what we do at Sawgrass. We're always in that mode of creating new and better products, okay, to support our customers and our future customers. Well, now we're in 2020, okay? And in 2020, we have this whole collection of things going on. Now, we're not going to dive into all these things today. I just want people to understand that there's a lot of things coming down over the next couple of months that are new products and services that can take a sublimation business and help it become more profitable, move to a higher level. That includes printers, which we're really going to look at today, inks, which we'll talk about today, the print manager, Creative Studio, Go Exchange, Go Expression. A lot of you haven't heard about that. That's some interesting things, and I'm going to give you a little sneak peek as to what that's about. Our Sawgrass Academy, and of course our support. We keep trying to advance.
So it's more than just printing.
More than just printing, David. That's what we've traditionally done printers and ink, and that's what we do really well, right? But along the way, we keep trying to find more solutions to give to our customers so that they can do a better job with their printing and actually growing their business. And now we're taking some steps into business tools when we do things like Go Exchange and Go Expression. So yeah, that's a whole bunch of things coming out for 2020. Very exciting.
So it's like a new smartphone or a new iOS from Apple. In theory, it's supposed to make your life easier,
right,
allow you to be more productive, more powerful, and we would hope that Sawgrass is doing exactly that.
That's a great way to put it, David, because when we look at the early cell phones, what did? They made phone calls. And then we could do texting, and then we could do data, but now we have the ability to do remotely control things like your house, from a distance, adjusting your thermostat, all these different types of things. So yeah, in a way it's similar.
I can actually drive my car from my iPhone.
Wow. That's interesting.
Nobody in the car. I can summon the car.
That's gotta be
move it around.
Right.
And so what does the future look like? I think to an extent it's undefined, but it's very exciting.
It is. So let's take a look at the printers. As you were saying, we have some pretty new, exciting printers that we're releasing here in 2020. Well, really in this time frame now. This is our newest versions of the SG models, and this is, up until the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, it was the SG 400 and the SG 800. But now we have the new generation of those printers, and we are bringing those into the marketplace. We will be retiring the current models, but I don't want anyone to worry about we're not going to support the existing models, right? We're still supporting the SG 400 and SG 800. In fact, we're still supporting the Ricoh models, so previous generation from that.
I think you can absolutely buy inks for the very first one, the GX 7000, and that's got to be, I don't know, 14 years old. And
right,
we can install the drivers for it. We have profiles. And so I don't think you can say that about too many things, that after that many years,
right,
it still works very well.
Right. Yeah. So we never want our existing customers to worry that we're discontinuing a model or discontinuing support for it when we say we're retiring it. We'll still be there supporting it. So you're fine. But like everything else, we're looking at to advance our technology, to advance the efficiency of the equipment. And just like with cameras and iPhones, as you mentioned, we have some new technology. And so many times in a printer, it's what you don't see that's really making all the difference. You know, the average user, they see the printer case and they put ink in it and change a waste tank, and every now and then hit a couple of buttons. And they don't really know what happens inside. And a lot of people don't care what happens as long as it happens well, right? But we are concerned with that, and that's where we're focusing. So again, a lot of the things you don't see or maybe wouldn't even understand are being addressed routinely, and that makes a better printer. And we always collect data. You know, we collect data from you, our dealers. We collect data from our users, from our tech support group, and we catalog that and look at it and say, hey, how can we do this better? How can we take this to another level? Well, meet the new models, SG500 and the SG1000. Now, if you look at the SG500, it's basically the new generation of the SG400. And the SG1000 is the new generation of the SG800. Now, a couple of things here that are going to get people excited. Number one, we've been able to cut the cord with these new printers, meaning that they are Wi-Fi enabled. Okay, Wi-Fi enabled. We didn't have that with the previous. And a lot of people have requested that, and that's one of the key features that we have there. The display unit on the front, and you can see here a picture of an SG500, and immediately you should see that the display panel is actually larger. Okay, it's larger, makes it easier to read. It's also backlit, okay, which makes it even easier to read. So little things like that can mean a lot, especially when you have to squint a lot to see, like people like me that have corrective lenses, but it makes it just that much easier to work with. And we've also brought forth a new level of resolution with these printers that you can see is 4880 by 1200. So what does that mean? That means that we're getting that much better quality printing out of our unit. This is what the two units look like side by side. Very similar to the SG400 and SG800. But you can see there are a little bit of difference is in the two units. All right, some of the other features, as I said, a lot of times it's behind the scenes, right? We have a faster processor. We replace multiple roller bars into one to minimize things like paper skewing and misfeeds. And I'll actually show you what that looks like in just a minute. Access to the capping station through maintenance mode. And a lot of times you're like, what is that? But basically you're able to have your print heads move to better access areas when you're doing maintenance.
Yeah, in the past we had to play games to get it to move over, and so that's very convenient. Absolutely.
Yep. Change an encoder strip to reduce dust accumulation. Again, for the average user, they don't care, okay? But these are the kinds of things that we're always working on to make the system better. But one of the nicest things here is we're launching with a 2-year warranty. So they did come standard in previous generations, 1-year warranty. Now it's a standard 2-year warranty. Just to show you an idea of the exciting things, such as the roller bar, if you look over on the left, you'll see that there's a roller bar to the right and to the left, and they were joined there in the middle, okay, underneath that red circle. Now, if you look over on the picture on the right-hand side, you'll notice it's one continuous bar. So like I said, our average user, they're never even going to notice that, okay? But at the same time, these are features that are improving their productivity because it's keeping the printer running and running efficiently and effectively, and those things make a difference, okay? If we look at our plastic strip encoder, again, a lot of times people are saying, what is that all about? But you can see that we've made a significant difference between those two components. So this is what it's really all about underneath. Okay, we're not going to go through every detail of what changed underneath. Okay,
And by the
suffice
way,
it to
what
say,
the encoder strip does is it just allows an optical eye to count those vertical bars to know the location of the print head. And it's if you ever wonder how does the print head know where it is to put down those dots, it does it through this encoder strip. And then
right.
there's an encoder wheel inside it. We have videos to show you how to clean both of these parts because they do get dusty.
Yep.
And when there's enough dust on them, the electronic eye cannot see it. And again, these are things that all printers have. And if you'll take a little time and trouble to learn these, then obviously it adds life to your printer.
Definitely. Now, this is one that really caught my attention, so I thought it might be worth sharing with you. And that is where we're able to reduce black dot specking on hard surfaces, which I've seen. And now with some of our new technology, we're going to get better, more accurate dot placement. Again, our average user doesn't really think about the whole printing process, so the fact that we're putting down dots and the size of the dot, the location of the dot, all those things have to do with how good of an image we're going to have or not have. So really, dot formulation or formation and placement is critical to getting great prints. But most people just using our printers just take it for granted, right? Push a button and hope for the best. But we continuously work to improve that whole process. And then, of course, as I mentioned just a minute ago, two-year warranty. Okay, 2-year warranty. That's great. I mean, I love that feature. I really do. Just that extra year already right
And
off the bat.
it absolutely helps, gives you confidence in your purchase. So definitely a step up in Sawgrass's and Rico's confidence in the quality of the printer.
Yep. Well, along with a new printer, a new ink, because that's what we do. So we did create a new ink formulation specifically for the SG 500 and the SG 1000, and that is the Sublejet UHD. Okay, the Sublejet UHD. Now this is an ink that is designed for these printers. You would not use this ink in your old printers. Okay, this is designed for the new ones. Just by the same token, you would not use the ink, the standard Sublejet HD ink in the new printers. Okay, because we build printers and ink kind of like simultaneously, so that we build the printer for the ink and the ink for the printer, which is going to give us the best quality print. With this new UHD, we do get the same UV resistance as Sublejet HD, because a lot of times when people hear U, they think it's having to do with UV, and it's not necessarily, okay? We're getting deeper, more neutral blacks. You know, a lot of time is spent getting a good black. You know, sometimes a good black's hard to come by. So we always are focusing on how can we get better blacks. I mean, that's just one of the key things with ink formulation. With our Chromoblast, we also have a UHD. Oh yeah, go ahead, David.
Well, I was going to say, just to tell you this, that Condé has for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, had a recycling program for empty cartridges. And so everyone, please don't throw those plastic cartridges away. We will pay you $5 per cartridge if you return it to us to be used as a Condé account credit on your next purchase of ink. And I did get information from Sawgrass indicating that the plastic that is used in the manufacture is recycled plastic, because those kinds of things are becoming more and more important at the recycle centers. So be sure to take advantage of that credit. The form for sending it in is on the main page over there, and some of the things on the left side. So be sure to take that into account.
That's pretty awesome. So that's $5 per individual cartridge, right? Not like a set, but $5 per cartridge.
Right. And we have donation programs. We have a number of programs that benefit schools, for instance. It's a good thing, you know. And again, throwing stuff away used to be the standard, but
Right.
more and more people are being sensitive to recycling stuff that obviously has value in new manufacturing, or reusing it for other purposes.
Right. Yeah, that's a great program, David. It really is. And that's one of the things I do get asked a lot of times by people about recycling, ink cartridges, et cetera. So excellent program. I wasn't aware that you had that. That's excellent.
And also, we have the ink minder panel, which goes on the front of the printers. People who get their printer from us will get one of these panels where it's sort of a dry erase, where you can simply, with a dry erase marker, write what the use by date is on each cartridge to keep that in your face.
Yeah, that's always a good thing to keep up with, that type of information. We highly recommend that our customers do keep up with that date, just because, for one thing, new ink just typically prints better. But the second is we don't want to let it sit there, 5 years for whatever reason, and then start printing, because that could cause some problems. So that is a good way to keep up with it. Along with our ink formulations, also our chromoblast. So for anyone who is looking to get into chromoblast printing, which is our cotton solution ink, we also have a UHD version of that as well. So which is designed specifically for the new printers. All right. Again, things that I like to brag about really at Sawgrass is so many of the things that the average user just isn't even aware of. It's not always just behind the scenes of the actual printer itself, but all the different types of certifications and things that we do at Sawgrass to make sure that we do have inks and products that are compliant with different certifications and requirements. And here's just an example of some of the different things that we're compliant with. And so we put a lot of thought and engineering into what we do. It's not random by any means. That just shows you how significant our ink is. And I've said this so many times, all inks are not created equally by any means. And certainly ours has a lot of engineering that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, just to reiterate what this slide really means, it has, I'll say, two big meanings. One is Europe is ahead of the game in, we'll call it, the safety certifications. And they have everything to do with the printer, um, um, being sure that the printer is made from safe materials, to the ink. And so if you were to, for instance, try to sell to Reebok or Nike, you better have inks that are Okie-Tex certified. That's taken, granted that you do that. And to Sawgrass's credit, what they've done, I don't know if you know this, Jimmy, I bet you do, is they've gone backwards compatibility first. So the existing Sublegit HD inks are now Okie-Tex certified. By the time people watch this, the UHD inks will also be certified. So as we get into this presentation, one common theme is that much of what Sawgrass has done actually benefits sort of existing users, people who have an SG 400 or 800, and some of what they've done, Jimmy, will benefit people even if they don't own a Sawgrass product, which is sort of we'll call it a surprise as we get into it, right?
That's a great way to put it.
So it is important that Sawgrass have these certifications, and to their credit, they have them, and it just means that Sawgrass is and will continue to be the recognized leader with desktop sublimation. Still with me, Jimmy?
Yeah, I am. I am.
Okay.
All right. And the next thing I'm going to just touch on briefly here
But
is,
hey, stop just 1 second, because
okay.
you may not be covering it. I apologize. We didn't have a chance for me to review it. But if you didn't already mention, and that is that the existing trays, the bypass tray,
That's
the
a good
bottom
point. Yes.
trays, are all compatible with the new printers. So let's say you got an 800, you're going to replace it at some point. Well, you can take with you the extra trays. If you got bottom trays, you got bypass trays. In addition, the waste ink tank is also compatible with the new printers. And so what I would say is that Sawgrass has made the ride down the road to sublimation success, which is my tagline when I write for the great folks at NBM magazine. I think they've made the journey much easier and familiar. So that is to their credit.
Yep, David, thanks for pointing that out. That's a very important thing to take note of with the bypass and the option trays. So thanks for pointing that out, because you're right. I was starting to move on and hadn't covered that as well.
And then are you
Okay.
gonna? I guess you're probably not going to go into the actual versions of the ink cartridges. You know, the starter, standard, extended.
No,
I
I
guess
wasn't
what
really
you.
going to cover that so much
Okay.
today. I really just wanted to touch on kind of what the
Yeah, but
in
bottom line, folks, is that Sawgrass has really thought through how to do things in a cost-effective and efficient fashion, and so you can speak with your Condé rep, and also you can just. I have an article that just came out and it's posted on our website. It's an article on the new printers that covers a few of the little things here. But Jimmy, keep going.
Okay. Um, well, as many of you know, and if you haven't actually bought a system yet from Condé that was manufactured by us, when you buy your printer, it also comes with some other things like our print manager. So we do have a new print manager that we have put together for these units. And what we did was we looked back over quite a few years, because many of our customers remember our former print manager, which was called Power Driver. And quite a few had said, hey, you know, I really like Power Driver. I wish you still had that available. So we went back, looked at the most popular features of Power Driver, as well as our Virtuoso Print Manager, which replaced the Power Driver, and then combined those together into our new Sawgrass Print Manager. So it has the best of both worlds brought into it. And it also has a few other things that have been wrapped in to kind of streamline the process, but still give you things such as custom hot folders. And if you've never used hot folders, they're a way to essentially create like we'll say a recipe of settings for, let's say you're going to print on glass routinely and you want to create a set of defaults with your color management for printing on glass. You're able to do that with a hot folder, and then you can essentially drop your design in the hot folder, and then those settings or presets are applied to the image automatically instead of you having to do it manually. So I think that's a pretty simplified way of discussing a hot folder. Hot folders are great once you learn how to use them, because you can build as many as you want for anything you want to do there. The Sawgrass Print
Yeah, and
Manager,
we're trying to work the hot folder into the Condé kiosk at this point. The Condé kiosk is a way you can set up an event and have people use their phone to send you files.
yeah, and that kiosk is an awesome program that you have, David. So I can see where hot folders could be very useful for you on that. This is also integrated to Creative Studio, just like VPM was, so but different. Not exactly the same as it was done before, because it's actually integrated in rather than just sending the design over. A lot of different things we've done in there, really trying to just make it a little bit easier for the user to work with it. You know, we've updated our substrate selection lists. We've just done a lot of different things in there, but not so hugely different that those using VPM would not understand it. Okay, so we've made improvements to it, but it still has a lot of the look and feel of what we had before. By the way, we have over 1,800 profiles in there based on paper substrate speed. So that's a lot. There's a lot of things in there. Again, most of that's behind the scenes. And then Creative Studio, we've had Creative Studio out now for quite a few years, and we have quite a few users of Creative Studio. So this year we gave it a really big makeover. Again, taking the information that the customers have given us over the years, we have wish lists of things that people have wanted, and we also wanted to try and give it a more updated look and feel through the user interface. Now, we actually have had online for several weeks now the new Creative Studio as well as the existing Creative Studios, so that users could play with and kind of get a little bit of experience with the new Creative Studio. Now, I will tell you that one's a work in progress. So the idea is that you can look at it and see more of what the environment looks like. But we are still working on it, and that's why we have both of them available online, so that you can continue to work with the one you're used to until we're completely updated with the new one. But if you haven't played with the new one, in fact, if you haven't played with Creative Studio at all in a while, come in and look at that new one. One of the things that people are always requesting, okay, including myself, was to be able to make a virtual sample product, like a mug that's rounded, such that you can actually see the logo that you've created wrapped all around it. We couldn't do that before. Okay, you'd see an image of a coffee mug, and then over beside it, you'd see just a rectangular version of whatever it was that was going to wrap around. Well, with this new version of Creative Studio, you can apply it to, say, a mug or a water bottle, and then you can not only see it wrapped around, but you can turn it and look at it from all these different angles. So you're actually seeing a 3D rendition of what the final product would look like. And also our substrates are utilizing photography rather than just drawings of substrate, so that, you know what, if you see the water bottle with that, you're seeing a real water bottle, you know, with your image on there. So there's a lot of neat things in this new Creative Studio, and we're still working really hard behind the scenes to do more updates to it, more features to it, functions to it, and it looks a lot different, but it has a lot of power in it as well. We've also brought out something called our premium content. And again, we had a lot of users saying, hey, you know, you have lots of great stock designs in here, but we want more, okay? We want more things that targeting certain markets. We want things that are maybe a little bit more artistic, you know, that type of thing. So we put together our premium content program, where you're able to have basically a subscription and get new images dropped into your system pretty much weekly, and brought a lot of new artists in on that. And so Creative Studio comes with your system too. When you buy the printers, you get Creative Studio. There's no charge for it. And that's just one more thing that comes with the printer package from Sawgrass.
One thing to acknowledge is, while Sawgrass has been developing a new version of Creative Studio, we've been developing lots of new products. And so Creative Studio is a little bit behind in its template support for all these products. So one of the things that everyone can do is, if you're going to use Creative Studio, you can use our existing templates that can be downloaded from Condé, and just simply use the PNG version of the template in Creative Studio.
Yeah, you just upload it through, just like you do any image. You can upload that because essentially your template becomes an image at that point with the PNG. Some of the other things you're going to find is you're going to be able to start organizing using folders. Okay, a lot of requests for folders so that you have individual folders where you can categorize and store things. You'll be able to upload your own fonts. Another big request for that. I mentioned the 3D preview because that one just, I love playing with that one. I mean, I can get like just hung up playing with that one. It works out so well. Be able to send proofs very easily to your clients for approval. We have a lot of new text features. You know, that was in the existing version of Creative Studio. We could do some text. We could do, arcs, but I never really loved the arc function. And now we've added in so many more functions like you're used to seeing with any type of program that works with text. So we do have advanced text editing now. And then we're able to connect into something really cool that will be coming out a little bit later. And that's
All
called,
right, let's pause just one
okay,
second, and before we get to the
I needed my
exciting
drum
stuff.
roll, but go ahead. Go ahead.
So I want to make clear that these printers, just like the existing printers and the printers before the existing printers, are stellar champs with the traditional graphic software like Adobe products, like Corel products. And so you absolutely can continue to use the software that you already own, that you already know how to use. That includes like Silhouette, Photoshop, Illustrator, Lightroom, Corel Draw, Corel Photo Paint, all those kind of products. You can keep doing. And then, to tie into what Jimmy's talking about, well, you can take an existing design and import it into Creative Studio and then use these exciting new, what I would call sales and marketing features.
Yes, and that's a good point because as you said, you can import, you can create. A lot of times people, as you say, are very much more comfortable saying Corel, and they'll create an image in Corel, but when they're ready to go use a substrate template and take advantage of the 3D preview, things like that, then they'll take that and upload it into Creative Studio and then apply it to that product. So that will give them the best of both worlds. And to be honest, you don't have to use Creative Studio. You can just print straight to the printer. So we're definitely not pushing aside any of the Corel, Photoshop users. Or David, you had a long list. I'm not going to repeat the whole list, but all those other great programs out there, you're still able to use those with the new printers. But here's where I want to give you just a little taste of some things that we're working on that you'll learn more about over the next several weeks. And one of them is Go Expression. Okay, so what exactly is Go Expression? Well, Go Expression is part of what we're calling the Sawgrass Marketplace. And the way I look at it is it's a community for creative sublimators. And I'll explain what I mean by that here in 1 second. Let me just tell you a little bit about what it is, and then I'll talk about this community for creative sublimators concept. Go Expression is essentially an online store, and it's not a big fancy type of thing that's real complex. I mean, it's just a simple online store because a lot of times it's all you need on the internet. And if you think about places like Etsy, Etsy is a great example of what we call a community because there are a huge number of people who are creating their own products, most of it sort of artistic driven, and then they put them up on Etsy and they're able to sell them. So we were looking at ways to do the same concept with sublimators. We have a lot of creative sublimators who are not necessarily doing the corporate work, but they're more doing more of craft, very creative, artistic type of products. And we said, what if we can do a community for creative sublimators? Because if you look at Etsy, Etsy's a community for independent designers, I believe is how they build themselves. And then have people be able to put together a simple online store, okay? And I think simple is a big key because I've built some of these complex stuff that can just be overwhelming. This is not one of them, okay? It's easy to use, it's easy to set up. And so the idea is that you would be able to set up one of these online stores, and we don't charge to set it up or to host it, okay? It is for all Sawgrass users. It also interfaces with Creative Studio. So if you're a Creative Studio user, then you're able to put together that really cool looking product and on a very realistic image of a substrate. And with just a few clicks, you have it uploaded onto your Go Expression website. Now, even if you're designing in Corel, okay, keep that in mind, Photoshop, any of those, you can still do that initial creation like David was talking about, upload it into Creative Studio, apply it onto the substrate of your choice, and then bingo, move it over to your Go Expression online store, where then you can take and start promoting it. Now, keep in mind that because you're going to be in a community of creative sublimators, then that means that there's other stores there, but when you have multiple stores, it attracts a greater flow of people in there. And of course, we've put into all of this tools to get out into social media when you're creating new products, to immediately get them out into the social media audience of what you have new and everything. So it's really exciting because nobody's done this for our industry. And the beauty of this, as you can see, is there's no charge to set up. There's no hosting fees. It's essentially free to get you up and running as long as you're a Sawgrass user.
Yeah, the ultimately, I don't know if you're aware, Jimmy, but ultimately, Sawgrass intends people to be able to use Creative Studio to put products in the marketplace that would be fulfilled by Sawgrass owners. And so that means that anybody can ultimately be your customer and submit jobs to be fulfilled without having a printer.
That's absolutely true. That is. So if you're a designer who doesn't really want to print, you just want to create, then you're going to use the Creative Studio as a tool to get your products in a format that you can put into your online store. And then your online store connects with another product that we have called Go Exchange. And the concept of Go Exchange is it's a network of sublimators globally, okay, that can take the orders that come in from your store, fulfill those orders, and actually deliver them. Now, being that it's globally, what we're looking at here is, let's say that you're in the US, okay, and someone maybe in France sees your product and says, oh, I like that, I want to buy that. Now, if they place the order with you and you have to ship it to France, that's going to be, well, kind of difficult, right? But by using the global order exchange, you can put it into that product, you can submit it into the exchange, and then, you know, sublimators that are in France would have an opportunity to see it and can take that order, actually fulfill it there, and do the delivery there. So now you're actually selling internationally without having to go through all the ins and outs of selling internationally. And the same thing within this country. I mean, if you're in Maine and somebody in New Mexico wants to order something, instead of having to ship it, then, you know, maybe you'll put it into the exchange and let someone there in New Mexico pick up the order and do it, and you know, send it out to that customer locally. So,
Well, I would say, let me just throw two scenarios that I think are going to be very common scenarios for folks and why this might be a good feature to use. Again, you don't have to use Creative Studio to design with. You just have to import your final design into Creative Studio so that it can get into their system. But number one would be, for instance, mugs. You may get a large order of mugs, and you really don't want to do the large order of mugs. Maybe you don't have the time, possibly don't have the equipment, and so you can farm it out. Number
right,
two scenario is you've got the smaller printer and you've got a job that demands the bigger printer. You don't want to spend the money right now for it. Well, you take that job and push it through the network. So the network can be an interesting partner, if you will, in doing the things that either you don't want to do or doing the things you can't do.
right. And any customer, okay, any Sawgrass customer that wants to be a fulfiller in the network could also be doing it the other way around, where they're picking up jobs and fulfilling for other people. So there's some really cool stuff going on with this, and we don't have this out yet, but we are getting close. Okay, we've had a team of people working on this, and it's a whole new dynamic as to how you can do business as a sublimator, or as David said, there are going to be people who don't even have a printer. They're just designers.
So in my article, Jimmy, I didn't coin the term because it's already out, but I indicated that I'm going to call this feature the ability to ride share your printer. And
Yes,
so,
I understand.
You essentially make money by plugging your printer into the Uber or Lyft network. And I suspect at some point what Sawgrass will do is the system gets up, they'll have a rating system for fulfillment people. Are you reliable? Are you doing your design
Right.
on time? Just like Uber rates, you rate the driver, and you can either give them some accolades or give them some feedback. But I think it's an interesting way to greatly increase the value of your printer. And again, you don't have to be a Sawgrass client to be on the input side, but being a Sawgrass client with a printer on the fulfillment side allows you to make money with your printer much faster than you could simply being on an island by yourself.
Sure. Yep, I like your Uber analogy. That's something we've actually talked about at Sawgrass, kind of the same thing, the way that this kind of moves in. So it's, for a lot of people, it's a new way of doing business, but it's just kind of how a lot of our business models are trending anyway.
So I guess you could put the printer in your trunk. Let's say you have an SUV with a little heat press.
Right.
And you could really exploit the meaning of a ride share for your printer.
That's true. That's true. It's an interesting idea. Anyway. Okay, another new thing that you're gonna start hearing more about and see more about this year is, at Sawgrass, we've always been heavy in education. I mean, that's what I've been doing here for quite a while, but we're trying to formalize everything a little bit more, and we're putting together what we call the Sawgrass Academy that we're working on building out right now. And the idea is that we can show you how to do everything from unboxing your system all the way up through developing sales and marketing programs, pricing, running your business. And we're trying to make it better organized than just, doing webinars and things like that, but actually having a library with how-to videos and tutorials, and really try to get down deep on how to do a lot of things business-wise, like, selling online, for example, those types of things. And I'm really excited about it because it's one of these things that I've always wanted to see a little bit more formalization of putting together our vast library of knowledge so that people have one place to go and find it, and then be able to go through it and easily, find the different subjects they want to do, and actually go through in a true learning environment, where it's, done at your own pace, but you have lessons and you follow lesson plans, and you're going to do this one, then you're going to do that one, so that you truly do learn the subject matter from beginning to end, instead of just picking up, a little video snippet here and there. Then in our support arena, we've always had support. That part hasn't changed. But one of the things that's also going to be new for this year is putting together our Sawgrass knowledge base, and we're trying to get a very comprehensive knowledge base put together. Because one thing I've learned in all my years of doing product decoration is that things only go wrong when there's no one to call. Okay. If it's 9 to 5, things never went wrong for me. Okay. As soon as it was the middle of the night and I'm working on something, I would have a problem. Right. So we're always looking to put together comprehensive information that our customers can access 24/7. So if you do run into a situation, you can hopefully troubleshoot it yourself, resolve the problem, and keep on going. Because I know that we don't all work 9 to 5, okay? And when you have a big order that's due tomorrow, you may be staying up all night doing it. I've done that many, many times. So I understand that. So this is something that we're putting together, where we're going to be able to get more information into our customers' hands immediately, okay, on things, whether our tech support unit is open or not at that point in time.
Well, as you may know, Jimmy, I think we're the only distributor maybe on the planet that we have humans that are after hours and weekend support, that will actually call you, and help you with your issue, remote in if necessary. And it's just a service that I've seen that's essential to helping our clients, because many of our clients are only available after hours, are only available weekends. In fact, they may be only doing sublimation on a weekend or a holiday, for instance. So because of the Condé kiosk, we support thousands of clients that show up at events on weekends, and we do our best to support them with their equipment and substrates and the systems.
So just a quick wrap up there. This is what it really looks like for 2020 coming out of Sawgrass. All these different things. So we're doing this with that focus, as I said, trying to make more products and services available for our customers to help you get started, grow your business, and take it in a lot of different directions. So when you do buy a Sawgrass system through Condé, it is a total integrated. Now, there are certain parts you may or may not use, but when you actually look at everything that comes with our system, printer, ink, color management, design workspace, education support, we include that with everything. There are some other companies out there selling systems, but they may not have nearly as many features and functions for you that we do, because we deliver more than just printers and ink.
Yeah, I would say that with the value equation that Sawgrass had, last year, and looking at the value equation that they have this year, which is significantly enhanced and will continue to be, it's very easy for us to say to you that if you invest in a Sawgrass printer, along with all the things that Condé does, there's a high degree of success.
Absolutely.
For you, very high degree. You still have to take the printer out of the box, don't you, Jimmy?
You have to take the printer out of the box, put the ink in there, and fire it up. Okay.
I will tell you, there's a lot of folks that will buy a printer because they're excited. They see us using it at the Condé kiosk at trade shows. but they just don't take it out of the box. So we can be there to help you in every step of the way. But, sublimation, Jimmy, is just like anything else, like cooking or learning to drive a car. You can watch a lot of videos about cooking, or watch a lot of books, or read books, or watch videos about learning to drive a car, but that isn't going to quite get you there, is it?
No, it's not. And I don't know why it is, but I'll watch those cooking videos and I still can't get it right. But anyway, just my luck.
So at any rate, Jimmy, are we ready to answer any questions?
Well, David, we have a few questions, but several of them here really are ones I'd rather take offline. So
Okay, sure.
I have a record here of who's asked what, and I'll answer some of those offline because people have some great questions that sometimes we need to address specifically what they're asking, and it's easier to do that offline so that we
Yes,
can
more
get them the right
questions.
answer.
Right. So please let us know how we can be of service. As say, my article just came out in the A&E, I think it was April edition of A&E magazine. You can ask your sales rep to send you a copy where I talk about the printers. Again, everything we've seen with these printers is really just a continuation of the awesome legacy that Sawgrass started so many years ago, and Condé is so glad to be a part of these fine printers and such a great company. And of course, with the expert teaching of Jimmy Lamb, and hope to see you this summer, God willing, right?
Oh, absolutely, because I have your open house on my calendar there. I hope that nothing changes on that, but
Yeah, right.
just have to
Well,
wait.
Jimmy, again, thank you for being part of this, and we look forward to the next one. And
Great.
so you'll send me the recording as soon as you
Yes,
have it, okay?
I will. Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you,
David.
sir. Be
We'll talk
safe.
to you later.
Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.